Did you know that breast augmentation surgery is the top cosmetic surgery performed in the United States, with over 300,000 surgeries being performed a year? That is insane. With that being such a staggering statistic, I feel like this needs to be talked about more. Breastfeeding with breast implants. There's so many questions that need to be answered, so let's get into it. I feel like there's a lot of myths and misconceptions out there. In the past, I've definitely heard that if you have breast implants, you are unable to breastfeed. And I have come to find out that that is mostly false, but also it's a little bit more complicated of an answer. I did have to do major research before getting my breasts done, because personally for me, if having breast implants was going to compromise the true function of breasts, aka breastfeeding, then I wouldn't have gotten them for vanity reasons. So before I got my boob job, I wanted to make sure 100% I would be able to breastfeed, there would be no issues, and my plastic surgeon assured me that everything would be okay. So for context, I have 375cc implants on both sides. They are round, high profile silicone implants. They're placed under the pectoral muscle, and my incision is inframammary, which means it's in the breast fold. I went from a 32A to a 32 double D. The reason that I got implants was to improve my self-esteem and to bring a little bit more balance to my body. I was very pear-shaped and very small on top. So yeah, I went through with the surgery. I am just so happy. I feel like they are perfect. I feel like my body is so much more evened out. I've had my implants for a little bit over 2 years, and I have had absolutely no trouble breastfeeding my baby. I've been breastfeeding for a little bit over 2 months now, and everything is going super smoothly. So now that I hit my nose. Now that rant is over. So I basically looked on Google and I looked at all the questions that people normally ask relating to breastfeeding with breast implants. Here are the questions. Also, quickly, I feel like I need to make a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am not a plastic surgeon. I am not a lactation consultant. I am merely an individual who has done research online, and this is what I've found. And also I have breastfed without implants and with implants, and now I'm just sharing my experience with you. Take it as you will. So the question everybody wants to know, can I breastfeed with breast implants? Yes, it is possible. The next question, very important, will I have full or partial milk supply? That's where it gets a little bit more complicated, and it depends on a lot of things. The first variable that I have noticed, which greatly affects the amount of milk that you may produce after breast augmentation, is where the breast implants are placed, specifically above the muscle or below the muscle. My implants were placed below the pectoral muscle, and that's because anatomically the milk ducts and the milk glands and everything that has to do with milk production is above the muscle. So the reason I went underneath the muscle is because I wanted to avoid all of those structures. I didn't want to risk any of those structures being clipped or snipped or messed with, pressure being applied to them, and also because I started out with very little breast tissue, and if I put the implants above the muscle, it brings them closer to the surface of the skin, making them more visible and more easily, basically I would get clocked easier because you'd be able to see that there were implants better than if I had more breast tissue, which would kind of conceal the implants, but I didn't have a lot, so I put them underneath the muscle. But the main reason was because I didn't want my milk ducts or any of those structures being messed with. Another thing to think about is the type of implant that you get. So saline versus silicone. I got gummy bear silicone implants. So they are a very cohesive type of silicone where if you were to break them in half, if you were to squeeze them, the silicone is all cohesive and it won't leak out. Saline implants are made of saline enclosed in a silicone casing, and the thing that you have to think about with this and breastfeeding is the material leaking into the breast milk. So if you have a saline implant, saline is perfectly fine to be absorbed into the skin if it were to pop. As far as I have read in research, it's okay if saline were to leak into breast milk. If silicone were to leak into breast milk, that's where it got a little bit more controversial. Some people say that it would be fine because there's actually silicone in cow's milk. So to a certain degree, it would be okay, depending on, I guess, how much has leaked into the breast milk. I've read that other people say that that's not okay at all. With cohesive silicone gummy bear implants, they will not leak. So either Saline or the newer generation gummy bear implants would be the best bet for good breastfeeding. The next factor that could affect breastfeeding is where the incision is made. So my incision was made underneath the breast fold. You can also have the incision around the areola. You can go through the armpit or you can go through the belly button. I chose to go underneath the breast because it's easily hidden underneath your breast fold. You don't really see that scar. And also, it just seems like the easiest access to me. I put a very large implant in and I can't imagine that going through my nipple area. And the armpit is just like weird, like going all the way from here to here just seems so strange. And the belly button, I believe I would have had to have saline implants, which I did not want. Under the breast fold was definitely the best decision. Now, when it comes to breastfeeding, having an incision underneath the breast fold reduces the risk of snipping some of the ducts and some of the glands or structures that help you with breastfeeding and milk production. So if you're going through the areola, you have a higher chance of damaging those types of vital breastfeeding structures. I'm gonna link this reference in my description and I'm going to read exactly what I found on this website. It says that nipple nerve damage can actually mess with milk letdown. The fourth intercostal nerve is the main nerve providing sensation to the nipple and areola. Stimulation of this nerve also triggers the release of the breastfeeding hormones oxytocin for the milk release letdown and prolactin for milk production from the brain. Damage to this nerve therefore affects the reflex needed for making and releasing breast milk, and it makes it difficult for a mother to know whether breastfeeding feels comfortable. So that's from breastfeeding.support. I will have that linked in the description for you if you want to go research on your own, which I highly recommend. So if you want a good chance at breastfeeding and having maximum milk production and a good release or letdown, then I would suggest having your incision made underneath the breast fold or in one of the other two locations instead of going through the areola. The areola is the last place that you want to go because all of those important structures are right underneath that area. The next thing we have to think about is the size of the implant in relation to the frame of the person. So if you have a huge implant being placed in a person with a tiny frame and you place it above the muscle, it can put a lot of pressure on all of those structures. You can just imagine squeezing that giant implant in and everything has to be able to stretch out. The skin has to stretch out. It's not magically creating more room. You are putting pressure on the structures of your body. So that includes the milk ducts, the glands, the nerves, everything. Too much pressure can interfere with the milk flow and actually stop the milk from exiting through the nipples. The next thing that I want to talk about, which I feel like could be easily overlooked, is why a person would be getting breast implants in the first place. Is it for a reason similar to me, wanting to make the body more proportional? Is it because their breast tissue never developed? Is it because the breasts are asymmetrical? Are they a tubular shape? Are they spaced far apart? In some cases, there might not be enough glandular tissue to produce milk in the first place. So sometimes even before breast implants, a woman might not be able to breastfeed because of low production or not being able to produce milk at all. Okay, the next thing to keep in mind is that implants don't last forever. So they have a shelf life of about 10 to 20 years. Future surgeries mean more chances to damage nerves and ducts and glands, and it also means more chances for complications like infections, capsular contracture, scar tissue buildup. I've only had one surgery, so I can't exactly speak on that, but it is something to keep in mind if you're thinking about getting breast implants, or even if you already have breast implants. It's never too late to educate yourself on the situation. Okay, that was a long answer and a long explanation for my it depends answer, but as you can see, there are so many factors that deal with whether you'll be able to have full milk supply or partial milk supply, and ultimately whether you'll be able to breastfeed with breast implants or not. I wish it could just be a simple yes or no answer. This video would be a lot shorter. Okay, so the next question that I saw a lot of people asking is, is it safe for the baby to feed when the mother has breast implants? This is kind of an it depends answer as well. If a mother has silicone implants and they're placed above the muscle and the silicone ruptures, keep in mind these are not gummy bear, it's not cohesive silicone, it's a earlier generation silicone implant. If it ruptures and leaks into the breast milk, it is debatable whether or not this is safe for the baby to ingest or not. But as far as my research goes, that is the only situation where it possibly might not be safe for a baby to feed when a mother has breast implants. And the next question that goes along with that is it safe for the mother to breastfeed when she has breast implants? What I have found is that mothers need to be extremely careful when it comes to mastitis. Having mastitis can lead to capsular contracture, which is a pretty serious complication of breast implants, and it can, in worst case scenario, lead to your implants having to be taken out. That could be the main safety issue when it comes to mothers with breast implants. A very interesting question that I saw is, can ducts and nerves heal themselves? And I thought that was going to be an easy no, but the answer is actually yes. And I will leave the reference in the description box as well in case you want to read up further on this, because it seems really, really interesting. So apparently, this is a quote, yes, there is potential for some glands and ducts to reconnect after surgery. That's called recanalization. And some damaged nerves may also repair themselves over time, and that is called reinnervation. So that's something that I was totally unaware of. So if you have breast implants now and you're watching this video and the incision was made around the areola and you're freaking out like, oh my gosh, like cut all my milk ducts and I'm never gonna be able to breastfeed, apparently, according to this, it could heal over time. The last question I have is, can I use a breast pump if I have breast implants? So I guess the main issue that people are thinking there would be with a pump is that you would rupture your implants, but there's no evidence that shows that a breast pump will rupture your breast implants. Again, if you have the gummy bear implants, you don't have to worry about rupturing. So nice. But yeah, there's no evidence that pumping could damage your breast implants, so that is good to go as well. Again, I am not a doctor, I am not a plastic surgeon, I am not a lactation consultant. If you have more questions, I encourage you to please go talk to your doctor. Get in touch with the International Board of Certified Lactation Consultants. I encourage you to do your research, basically look up everything that you need to know, become an expert on this topic. If you're considering getting breast implants and you're also interested in having children and breastfeeding in the future, I hope this was informational for you. I hope that you learned something new. If there are any other questions that you have about breastfeeding with breast implants, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. What is this? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. I'm not even gonna try to pretend like I'm dressed in a full outfit today. Definitely rocking pajamas on the bottom.
I'm kissing for you.
I'm kissing for you.
I'm kissing for you.
I'm kissing for you.
So welcome to my channel. I have a favorite animal. Here is a rabbit. It's nice and soft. And she's going to bed. Okay, next exercise for the bell. Okay. Bye-bye. Guys, now we have a bell. Bye-bye.